Okay, good morning. Shh, thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask everyone if they sit flat. If we have a hat or a hood, we're going to take that off so we can make sure the people behind us can see. And then for my staff, if the message got cut off, the message was that we do not have bells now because this assembly is being recorded and it's live. And I know as ECC students, you're going to be great audience like you always are. And for staff, the reminder was just to make sure you pay attention to your own clock and watch today for recess. Once both assemblies are over, the bells will go back on. Okay, so good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Good or great? Great. I'm so happy to hear it. So this morning, I'm really excited to welcome all of you to an amazing assembly. And as I shared with you, all across the 9 schools in our district this morning, they are watching live, and we get the assembly in person. So we're the real lucky ones. So let me tell you a little bit about our assembly this morning. Dr. Kerry Magro is an award-winning professional speaker. He's a best-selling author and an advocate for the disabled community. He travels across the country speaking with businesses, professional and parents groups, school assemblies, nonprofits, and autism conferences. He also serves as a consultant for many films and television productions featuring disabled characters, including on Netflix, Love on the Spectrum. And he's here with us today through a generous grant from NFAR, which is the National Foundation of Autism Research, as part of our Inclusion in Action Week in our district. He is our amazing speaker, so let's give a huge round of applause and a welcome to Dr. Magro.
Hey guys, how are you guys doing today? I'm so glad to be here with you guys because when I was really young, I was diagnosed with this thing called autism. So when I was about your guys' age, I didn't talk. And sometimes that was really challenging. Being the person who couldn't talk and sometimes make friends because I didn't have the words to express myself made it really challenging. And just by a show of hands really quickly today, guys, how many of you guys have heard about this word called autism? Wow, you guys are so smart. So when I was growing up, I had no idea what autism was. And that sometimes was really challenging. But my parents told me that I had autism when I was 11, and it made my life so much better because I started learning more and more about things like my key interest. I learned about things that autism gave me, like laser-focused key interests and certain interests. For example, I could tell you all 30 NBA teams and every single player on one of those teams. And that led to me getting a degree in sport management where I'm from in New Jersey. And then my second love, which was theater, turned me into being able to have a full-time job as a public speaker, getting the opportunity to travel to schools like this one, and getting the opportunity to talk about just being kind to people. Because sometimes it's really tough for some people with autism and other disabilities to communicate. So I get the opportunity to travel the globe. I've gotten the opportunity to go to some really cool places, guys, like Australia, Dubai, Egypt, and other places too, and talk about this topic because it's really important. So, ooh, that was loud. I've gotten the opportunity to do some really cool things during my journey, but one of the most important things, if I leave you guys with anything today, is that you realize this: it's cool to be kind. Now, I just asked you guys if you knew the word autism, but by a show of hands, how many of you guys have a family member who has autism? So a few of you guys in this room. So it's important that you understand this. Autism is a condition that affects how some people's brains work. It can make it difficult for them to understand and communicate with others in the same way that most people do. And one of my goals with speaking with all of you today is that you understand we could be good friends to someone who is autistic by being patient, understanding, and including them in our activities. We can all learn from each other and have fun together. And no one brought up autism, guys, when I was really, really young. And now today, I'm going to share with you guys some really cool stories of some people on Sesame Street who are highlighting autism, in addition to some other incredible individuals who are spotlighting autism because it means a lot to them in our community today. So, one really cool show I'm going to highlight with you guys is I get the opportunity to work with this really cool group called PBS Kids. PBS Kids, who are known for Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood and some really cool shows, have actually decided to highlight people with disabilities. 1 in 31 people today in the United States have this thing called autism. So when a bunch of you guys raised your hands and said that you have a family member who had autism, it's so important that we make sure that people with autism feel included in our communities. So Sesame Street, in hopes of educating people about autism, actually created this Muppet called Julia, who is one of the first Muppets with autism to ever come to Sesame Street. So we actually got the opportunity to partner with Sesame Street to talk a little bit about the importance of autism.
I am Alan.
Oh, and Elmo's Elmo. And this is
Julia.
Julia.
That's right. And Julia and her family moved to Sesame Street about a year ago.
Yeah.
And Julia has autism, and she likes people to know that. Here's a letter from Kerry with a K.
Hello, Kerry with that K.
All right. And Kerry is an adult with autism, and he has a blog. So he writes, "Hello, my name is Kerry. I am an adult with autism, and I write about my experiences on my blog. Being unable to speak doesn't mean you can't always communicate. How does Julia communicate? That's a really good question.
Yeah.
So sometimes Julia communicates with pictures using a talker, which is a communication device. So Julia doesn't always have the words to explain how she's feeling, so she can tell me how she's feeling by pointing to the different feeling faces. So for instance, if she points to a sad face, it means she's feeling down, or she points to a happy face, that means she's feeling excited.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways to communicate.
That is absolutely right.
Yes.
And Kerry has another question. How can people help someone with autism?
Well,
Emma?
Emma thinks that it's important to include everybody during playtime.
Oh, yeah, that's great advice, Elmo. You know, sometimes Julia wants to play but doesn't know how to ask. So everyone feels better when they're being included. So it helps to tell Julia what she can do to join in and have fun and give her what she needs.
Yeah. Oh, like when Elmo is playing with his toy cars and sees Julia, Elmo invites Julia over and gives her a few cars to play with too.
That is great, Elmo.
Love cars. Love cars.
So guys, in that video, you saw that Elmo was talking to Julia about the fact of being kind and understanding that when Julia is by herself, going up to her and actually playing with her is something really cool to do. So a challenge I have for every single one of you guys in this room is to understand this. It's okay to be educated about autism, but if you see a lonely kid in the lunchroom or the recess area or somewhere else in your school who might not necessarily have any friends, go up to them and, like Elmo did with Julia, say, "Hey, would you want to be my friend?" Because you may realize that you have the same common interests and hobbies towards that individual, and they actually might be one of your best friends too. You just have to give them the opportunity. Realize that some individuals with autism, like myself when I was growing up, I wear sunglasses, guys, in most of my classrooms because lights would bother my eyes. I would wear noise-canceling headphones too. And sometimes kids would come up to me and they would be like, "He doesn't want to be our friend because he has noise-canceling headphones. He's trying to ignore us." And it wasn't that I was trying to ignore any of you guys. It was because I have things called sensory challenges where sometimes loud noises sometimes make me feel a little overwhelmed. So I use noise-canceling headphones to make me feel a little bit more comfortable. So always go up to other individuals because they may really need a friend. So there are other really cool shows out there in our community today. I get the opportunity to write for a show called Carl the Collector on PBS Kids, which actually focuses on a raccoon, which is really cool, guys, who likes to collect things. And this is a little bit about Carl's story.
This is because I'm autistic.
Autistic.
Yes, my brain works differently than yours. Sometimes it takes me a little longer to understand new stuff. I hope this helps you understand what happened a little better.
It does. Thanks for telling me. I kind of get it now.
I'm glad you told her, buddy.
Yeah, Carl, that's actually pretty cool. And now I know you better too. Do you forgive me, Nico?
Of course I do.
So guys, you've seen two characters who have different types of autism. Now, when we talk about autism, one of the things to realize is that autism is a spectrum. Because if you met one autistic person, you met just that one autistic person. Boys can be on the autism spectrum, girls can be on the autism spectrum, and autism is not a bad thing. There are a lot of people, when we talk about autism, it's important to understand that some people with autism, like Carl here, consider their autism an integral part of who they are, and without their autism, they would not be the same person. You may hear in your classrooms in the future about this word that might seem like a big word, guys, but it's called neurodiversity, where some people with autism think of autism as a big part of why they are successful today. For example, that's why I'm here with all of you today. Getting the opportunity to have my laser-focused key interest got for me to do some really cool things in my life. I told you guys that I love sports, and I could tell you all 30 NBA teams. I actually grew up wanting to be the next Kobe Bryant, so I'm a big Laker fan. If you guys are, any of you are Laker fans. But that actually got me the opportunity to work with CBS Sports on things like the March Madness tournament and the Super Bowl. Before deciding to change career paths, taking my second love, which was to become the sixth member of the Backstreet Boys, didn't become the sixth member of the Backstreet Boys, but I got the opportunity to take my love of theater to find a full-time career in public speaking. It's gotten me the opportunity to work with Warner Brothers, who are known for, any Harry Potter fans in the room? And yeah, it's okay to be a fan. So Warner Brothers, the Harry Potter series, we got the opportunity to work with Warner Brothers on a film that actually features an autistic person. We've also gotten the opportunity to work with HBO, who are known for Game of Thrones and are actually doing a Harry Potter series now on another show that focuses on an autistic person. And then also most recently on Netflix Emmy Award-winning series Love on the Spectrum US. Getting the opportunity to talk about representation in our media today because it's so important that people with autism feel represented. But guys, as we continue to have conversations about autism in our community, one thing that you guys should realize is that some the people that you may look up to today are actually huge autism advocates and also anti-bullying advocates. By show of hands, how many of you guys have heard of this word called bullying? So guys, bullying is really, really tough. Bullying simply is when someone is mean to another individual based on some of their differences. So when I was growing up, I learned about this really cool autistic person. Her name is Dr. Temple Grandin, and she has a great quote where she reminds people that people with autism and other disabilities are different and not less. You are no less than any other person, regardless of any challenge that you have in your own life. So actually, ironically enough, all these individuals that you could see here, like Tommy Hilfiger. Tommy Hilfiger actually started a sensory-friendly clothing line because of his son's challenges being bullied in school. Tommy's son would always move around a lot when he was in school because he couldn't, he hated the feel of the tags on his skin in his shirts. So Tommy started a sensory-friendly clothing line because he knew that would help individuals like his son. Other individuals like Anna Kendrick grew up being a victim of bullying because she was one of the shortest girls in her classes. And when I got the first opportunity to meet Anna, one of the first things that we talked about was the importance of being kind to others because of our challenges. Me with communication and Anna being one of the shortest girls in our school. And now Anna has actually used a part of her philanthropy to support people who are being bullied. Other individuals like a very small indie singer named Taylor Swift that I'm sure none of you guys have heard about. No, I'm kidding. Taylor Swift is a huge star. Taylor Swift has realized that several of her biggest fans are on the autism spectrum. So Taylor realized that a lot of autistic people sometimes thrive when it comes to music. So Taylor Swift is here with this kid named Jacob, who was able to memorize every single song on her 1989 album, and it went viral. Later on, we got the opportunity for them to meet. And because of Taylor getting the opportunity to meet individuals like Jacob, actually donated $30,000 of her own money to provide a service dog for an autistic boy who needed a little bit more support when he was in school. And then later on gave $50,000 of her own money to provide iPads for autistic people who can't communicate like you and me. You may have a kid in your class in the future who might use this, what we call a text-to-speech device, to communicate. But just because somebody can't speak doesn't mean that they don't have something to say and that they don't want meaningful friendships. Other individuals like Luke Bryan, who has a family member who's on the autism spectrum, and then my favorite on this list, because I watched his movies 20 times over, Kevin Hart. Now, Kevin Hart, similar to Anna Kendrick, was a victim of bullying growing up because he was one of the shortest boys in his school. And now Kevin, in a lot of his stand-ups, takes the power away from the bullying by making fun of the fact that he's a little bit on the shorter side. And in 2016, he actually came out with a movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson called Central Intelligence, where one of the themes of that movie is about the importance of being accepting and being kind to other individuals. But guys, if I leave you with anything today, it's that you not only realize it's a spectrum, but realize this. We talked about this whole concept about neurodiversity. Some people with disabilities are truly capable of amazing things, such as 6-time NBA champion from the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, was diagnosed with this learning disability that you guys may have heard of called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, at a very, very early age, Michael Jordan used his hyperactivity to find a key interest in basketball. His parents used basketball as a way of helping him with his hyperactivity. And then his parents used basketball as a reward system to make sure that he was succeeding academically. And then obviously he became one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But the list goes on and on. Magic Johnson, from my favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers, also has ADHD. Leonardo DiCaprio had challenges reading growing up and was actually bullied because of that, because of his disability in dysgraphia, which is a reading comprehension disorder. Leonardo DiCaprio's parents, though, using reading movie scripts with him at a very early age to help him with his reading comprehension. And then obviously he became an Academy Award-winning actor. Other individuals like Justin Timberlake, Michael Phelps, and then my favorite on this list, Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd grew up with two laser-focused key interests, similar to myself. Dan Aykroyd grew up wanting to be a crime detective, which I don't know about you guys, seems pretty cool. And also he wanted to grow up to be a ghost hunter. And he took those two extreme key interests to co-write a script in the 1980s with Bill Murray called Ghostbusters. Years later, he would sit down with a news reporter, guys, and he would say that it was because of his autism diagnosis, he was able to come up with that script. So realize this, guys, you may meet someone with autism in the future who might have a lot of challenges, but they're also individuals who are truly capable of amazing things. And guys, the list goes on and on about people who are trying to support our community today because they realize this: being kind can also make a huge, huge difference in the lives of others who also deal with things like mental health challenges. Individuals like Simone Biles, obviously a gold medalist at the Olympics. Selena Gomez, a popular singer and actress. Tom Holland, who is Spider-Man, if any of you guys like Spider-Man. In addition to Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things, and also Billie Eilish, who is a Grammy Award-winning singer. All of these individuals grew up with challenges being bullied for different reasons. And because of that, they sometimes had challenges, such as Simone Biles had challenges even most recently at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, where she was talking about stress and anxiety and actually taking a break because of her mental health. Selena Gomez talking about taking breaks from social media. Guys, there's something in the future that you'll hear called cyberbullying that's sometimes really, really challenging for some people in their community. Tom Holland was teased for being the only kid in his school who was a boy who did ballet. So it was a really, really challenge for him. But ballet, ironically enough, got him a Broadway role. And then the producers of a small movie called The Avengers actually saw that Broadway play and actually asked him to audition to be Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Billie Eilish shared about depression and challenges with body imaging. And guys, feelings are normal. And one thing that I hope you guys can understand is if you guys ever feel sad one day, share that with other people. Share that with a parent. Share that with a teacher, because your feelings are valid. Because every single one of these people I just mentioned realized this at a very, very early age, and it helped them become successes today in their lives. Also realizing this, guys, not all disabilities are visible. I was speaking with a group called American Express, and I was speaking to them about hiring people with autism because it's the right thing to do. And after that, one of the people raised their hand and they said to me, "Kerry, you have autism, but you don't look like you have autism." And I told them I parted my hair the other way today so you couldn't see autism, because guys, what is autism supposed to look like? A lot of people, when you hear the word autism, sometimes think of autism as this movie that came out in 1988 called Rain Man, where everyone just assumes all autistic people are great at math, they have a photographic memory, and that's not what autism is for a lot of individuals. So being kind to people with autism and other disabilities isn't being a hero, guys. It's being a decent human being. Because you have to realize this, some individuals that you meet in your classrooms, you may never know deal with any hardship, but that doesn't mean they don't deserve your respect and compassion, because they may be going through hardships that you never even realized because it's not present on the surface. So guys, there's some great ways to educate yourself more about autism and disability all year round. For example, on Disney Plus, there are some great series that actually focus on people with autism and other disabilities. That's pretty cool, actually. Ironically enough, Pixar, who are known for Toy Story, Ratatouille, Cars, actually created Pixar shorts that actually focus on people with autism. The first one is called Loop, and Loop focuses on a young girl who is autistic, who doesn't communicate like you and me. She uses her cell phone to communicate with campers by typing into it and then having the phone speak for her. And the other one is called Float. And Float focuses on a young boy who learns the ability to fly. And because of that, sometimes he's bullied because of his differences. And it was actually written and directed by a father who has a child with a disability and shares some metaphors to how some people with disabilities feel sometimes. So guys, autism is often seen in our society as one thing. And if I leave you with another key message, is that you understand that autism is a spectrum. Autism is characterized as a social and communication disorder, but it doesn't make any individual in this world any different than anyone else. And challenges today, a lot of people say to me, "Kerry, how are you able to be cured of your autism?" Autism is something I've had every single day for my entire life, and it's still a struggle that sometimes I deal with today. I still deal with that thing called sensory challenges. I do this thing called stimming, where sometimes I rub my hands together as a way of helping me feel comfortable. And every single one of you guys in this room have actually done this thing called stimming during the presentation. When you rock back and forth on the ground, that's a stim. And it helps every single one of us self-regulate to make us feel comfortable being in an auditorium, listening to a speaker like I'm speaking to all of you today. So understanding the importance that no one is cured of their diagnosis. Some individuals are just able to overcome a lot of the challenges that sometimes they had challenges with when they were younger. So guys, I never expected this to be in my life. I was always the kid told what I wouldn't be able to do in my life. And I just want you to know that by finding some really key friends, I was able to overcome a lot of obstacles that I used to have challenges with. So realize this, no one thing in your life has to define who you are. I like to say that autism can't define me, and I define autism. And I can only hope that every single one of you in this world, regardless of any hardship that you've ever had, can go out there and define your lives and your journeys in the way that you best see it every single day. Thank you guys so much for having me out here today. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. And we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. So if any of you guys have any questions, I would love to answer them. I know there was someone over here who had her hand up for a while. Yes, in the pink. Yes.
So I have a question because if you have, what is it called again? Autism, do you sometimes look a bit different?
So the question was, with autism, do you potentially sometimes look a little bit different? And some people do. Some people, like myself, like I was talking about, wear noise-canceling headphones. Sometimes some people with autism don't necessarily look you in the eye when they're having a conversation with you. So sometimes it is a little bit more present, but at the end of the day, going in and just being educated about that some people look a little bit differently than you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to be friends and that they don't deserve respect. Oh, and you have a follow-up. Oh, hold on 1 second.
Because my cousin has a disability and it might be autism, but I don't know if it's autism or not.
What does your cousin like to do for fun?
Well, I don't really know. I've only met him once, but so.
Well, the most important thing that you could know is that being an advocate for your cousin and speaking up, especially if your cousin is having a really hard time, can be really, really helpful, because that's what I needed. I needed a family member to support me when I was growing up. So really great question. How about we do over here, Titans jersey, maybe right here?
How did you learn how to talk when you had autism?
That's a really good question. So I learned to talk via music. So I made noises when I was a kid, and sometimes my parents would hear me making those noises, and they would start playing the piano, and they would start hearing me making certain noises, and then they would start trying to help me say things like juice and things like the Lakers, because I was a big Laker fan even when I couldn't talk. And that actually helped me tremendously. Listening to music when I was babbling and making just a few sounds helped and encouraged me to find my voice. So that was a big thing that helped me find my voice, and it's actually something that's helping a lot of kids with autism today. That's a really good question. How about we do one more question? And then guys, feel free to tell your teachers about any questions that you have, and we'll follow up via email. Yes. How about we do green shirt right here? Because
Me?
yeah,
Me?
yeah,
Me?
yeah, you. Yeah.
Do you feel different with, sometimes do you feel different with autism?
Yeah, sometimes I do feel different with autism. Guys, you are a really smart audience. These are some really good questions. I sometimes feel like the world is a little overwhelming sometimes because of things that sometimes I still feel with autism. So for example, a lot of people ask me, guys, how does it feel to have autism? So imagine you're in the car listening to the radio with your parents. Sometimes it feels like the volume is turned up all the way for individuals with autism like me, because I'm trying to understand why noises are so loud and why things are so overwhelming when it's not overwhelming for some individuals. But luckily, I have this thing called stimming, where I use that as a way of self-regulating. Sometimes I have noise-canceling headphones when the world is a little overwhelming, and I've realized to be able to figure out and cope when some situations are tougher than others. And that's, guys, why sometimes struggles are really hard for some autistic people, and being able to be kind and supportive of others can make a world of difference. Thank you guys so much for having me here today. You've been an incredible audience.
Thank you, Dr. Magro. Let's give one more round of applause. Thank you, ECC, for being a great audience. If you can please look to your teacher.